Even though you might think it's very confusing, the following contains spoilers.
Young man, the world has been disrupted. From coast to coast, from BTs to terrorist organizations, America has been destroyed. You must take its hopes and dreams, strap it to your back, and go forth, young man. Adventure into the wide blue yonder, connecting individuals. Physically, yes, connecting them, but emotionally connecting them to one another. That way you and everyone can bring together America with bridges. You and your BB with a smile on your face, with the weight of tomorrow on your back. This man gets it. Ready for an adventure, Jesse?
I don't know, this feels like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and you're gonna fall over, and don't let that baby die. But we will venture into the world of tomorrow, here in Death Stranding.
It's kind of hard to balance.
It's very difficult to balance. Don't lose that baby in a river either.
It's a lot of walking.
It's a lot of walking, but that's okay, because that walking represents your spirit of ingenuity and getting things done.
I got swamp ass now.
You have a lot of swamp ass.
Do I at least get any rewards for exploring?
You get to go back to a tube later on and take a weird sad shower all naked like.
What?
Death Stranding awaits us all to adventure!
Death Stranding is a game.
It is a video game. That is confirmed.
I don't know how you explain this to a general populace. Like, I don't know how I would explain this to my mother. It's impossible. It's so complicated and so crazy, but at its core, there's something fundamentally truthful about what it is and beautiful about what it is, but it's impossible to explain because Kojima is a mad genius. And he walks that line between genius and insanity in a way that sometimes I'm not sure I can tell which is which.
I think that it was almost the game of the decade, but just missed the mark.
I know that you and I, not a fan of the walking part of this game.
100%.
Because the story is fascinating.
Amazing.
The acting is great.
Really good.
Everything about what is happening in this world is a mystery that's phenomenal and weird and strange. It's right up our alley. It's exactly what this show is for. But the gameplay, I was like, it's just you're walking places and every once in a while pressing L2, R2 not to fall over.
It sucks that, like, you're just a future FedEx guy. Like, the whole existence of mankind is based on whether or not the Amazon guy doesn't ruin this package.
I don't know how to describe this game except for it is genuinely a walking simulator.
It's like a Katamari game, but like no fun music and no fun gods.
Although, lots of copyright music.
Lots of copyrighted music.
I feel bad for everyone who was like, oh, let's play this on YouTube, because the whole thing is just silence.
Nope. And even when you listen to the like the soundtrack, like the official Death Stranding soundtrack, the only songs that are on there were the songs written for the game. All the other good songs that you listen to, they're nowhere to be found.
Even though the final execution has a lot to be desired, the actual idea of what it was, it's next level. I feel like maybe the world is not ready for it or the implementation of what it was, but I saw a graphic. This is what Kojima was showing to people and how he would explain it to everyone, that he's like, one person would start and make a path, right?
Right.
And then other people would follow that path, and eventually it would lead to a road. And eventually there would be ways to get around. So player A, B, and C, even though they wouldn't see each other, they would leave things behind through the internet that would cross over to everyone's gameplay experience, thus growing it and building the road. That is the connecting aspect of the game.
Right. He made a game that gets better when people want to play it, but nobody wants to play the game.
Question, what difficulty did you play at?
Jesse, I heard when I was reading this game beforehand that there was an easy mode, that
There's a very easy mode.
Yep, that you would just be able to stroll through this game. Tried it on easy mode. That's a lie. You can't stroll through this game. You can play the game and it's not as hard, but it's still 50 hours of a game to get through.
Sure.
No, I would go between normal and easy. I was like, I give myself some challenge, and then sometimes I'm like, nope.
Yeah, I played on normal, although I'll be honest, many times I was like, what if I went to very easy? What if I chose the easiest setting and just beat it?
I don't think it's as easy as you think it is. BTs are still there. Everything is still in your way. It's just like a little less. I think the damage is just turned all the way down.
I would wonder what very easy with the BTs would be. If they like tap you on the shoulder like, psst, I'm behind you. And you're like, thanks, pal. And you just like keep moving.
They were still the same. And it took me forever to figure out how to fight the BTs. Until they give you blood grenades, that stuff was awful. You'd sneak through and then you'd lose all your stuff. And then you'd wait on a perimeter while these black sludge beings just are like, ooh. Then they would go away. You'd grab your stuff and then keep walking.
Yep, pretty much.
You do that over and over again. That's mainly what
Unless you use the zip lines.
Right, well, okay.
Those zip lines. Shout out to everyone who built this world before I played.
You're a great person.
You're the real hero.
You are a real hero of this game.
Because I think we played this a month or so after everyone else, the world that was created, the difference between playing it by yourself and then being online, watching people when this game first came out, and they're just like trudging through stuff, trying to find ways up mountains, and the fact that everywhere I went when online mode was active was like, thank you, humanity. Thumbs up everything.
Absolutely.
All the thumbs up.
See, but thank God, Monster Energy Drink was able to survive the fall of mankind.
All that tells me is that Monster is not made of anything real. Monster doesn't need things to exist.
Yeah, it's cockroaches and Monster's Energy Drink that are going to survive after the fall of man. And I think you're right. The fact that we played it a month out, the fact that there was infrastructure in the game made it way more doable.
Which I think proves Kojima's thesis.
But even with all that there, it's just missing that like cherry on the cake that makes me want to go back to it.
Absolutely. It's a game that I'll never forget, but I don't ever want to go back and play again. So the question for this show is, how do we explain to you everything in this story in a way that's going to make sense, that's concise, that isn't just rambling insanity? I think we focus on the setup for the game, main story elements, and then run through the characters. I feel like should be the plan. I think we should start with the general idea of what's happening.
I need like Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus to be like, once upon a time there was a sky, now there's no more sky anymore. We never get that in this game.
I'm gonna try and make that happen for you right now.
You look exactly like Morpheus right now.
Thank you. I got those little tiny glasses that This game is set in a post-apocalypse, although I think it's a still going on apocalypse. The United States suffered an event called the Death Stranding. The Death Stranding caused or brought beach things. And beach things are invisible creatures from again, just imagine this will all make sense by the time we're done, because it does not now.
Okay, just take all this with a grain of salt.
Beach things are these invisible creatures from a land supposedly linked to the afterlife that just roam the planet, or at least in this case, the United States.
The Death Stranding has happened. There was big explosions everywhere. That was how everyone knew something was up.
Yes, the explosions happen when someone dies. They're called void outs. And void outs are straight up when matter and antimatter collide. And it also produces something called time fall, which is rain that rapidly ages anyone it hits. Only a few people remain after the nation collapses, and they all hide away in things called not cities, and they made the United Cities of America. So there are no more states, it's just a few cities that exist. And these cities use a company, or I guess there are many companies, but they use something, either Bridges or Fragile, all different companies, to carry packages back and forth between the cities, and that's a way that they stay united. And people that travel back and forth between the cities, these porters, many of them have little babies that they carry with them called bridge babies.
BBs.
Yes, BBs. And they can sense the BTs, the beach things. So that's the setup for the game, y'all.
And you would think that with all this going on, that mankind, the remnants of mankind, would get together and become more united.
Is looking out for themselves.
Nope, you got terrorists, you got homo demons, you got beach things, and everyone all is in there only pursuing their own wants and needs, regardless of what's going on around them.
The intro to this game is 2,000% crazy Kojima.
Should have been a movie. Should have been its own movie. When he said he should be making movies, he absolutely should be making movies.
It is 2 to 3 hours long.
It's
the intro.
Very long.
And it is fascinating. As we see the intro, It is you riding on a motorcycle, whatever those bikes are called.
The dopest motorcycle in the world until you drive it and you find out, oh, it's awful.
You are Norman Reedus, Sam, driving to make a delivery as a timefall storm is quickly coming up behind him. And this is where you see for the first time, I think, maybe my favorite visual in the entire game, this sort of upside down rainbow eclipse, a harbinger of bad things to come throughout the game, and you are trying to outrun it. And as he's driving, you see this woman with a crazy looking umbrella standing, and he straight up hits that lady.
Straight up runs his bike right into that woman.
I never laughed so hard. I was like, did he just kill that lady?
This is the future, Jesse. You get out of the way of my motorbike.
So after the crash, he runs to go hide in a cave to get away from the timefall. And in that cave, he meets Fragile.
Fragile. Who's
was the woman.
fragile, but not that fragile.
Who was the woman that he hit. But
Yeah.
I guess you can't hit her because she can teleport.
She has the ability to access beaches, specifically her beach, anytime she wants to.
We should explain this.
Should we?
Yes,
Because
we
we
should
also,
explain
and I
this.
think we also then have to explain what Sam's abilities as well.
Oh boy, there's so much here.
There's so much.
So the concept of beaches is that all of us have our own beach.
Right. The
Beach is kind of like, it's kind of like heaven. It's kind of like going into the West, the idea of you're on the beach and there's this unknown ocean in front of you, and that sort of like represents, okay, I'm moving on, I'm getting in the water, moving on. More
But this is the
importantly-
confusing part, because sometimes there's joint beaches. America has a beach. Like there's
but more
confusion in
importantly,
that.
also beaches are not always beaches. Your
Right.
beach is whatever the hell you want it to be.
Right.
Everyone has their own personal idea of what this entry will say, the golden gates into heaven are, I guess we'll say.
Right.
And so that's what this is. It's the right before you die, it's that moment of like, I'm on a beach and everything's great. It's
So
that kind of concept.
Sam is a repatriate, and he has the ability to go back and forth. And he's also been afflicted with dooms.
Right. So Dooms is a supernatural ability that allows those afflicted with it to interact or perceive the otherworldly aspects of the BTs and Death Stranding.
For some reason, you have the ability to connect with them, and they connect with you.
And most of the time, it happens because of a terrible trauma. And based on the amount of trauma suffered, there are different levels. And there are dooms where you can sense BTs, which is like what Sam has. There's dooms where you can see BTs, which is what I believe Fragile or maybe Amelie, someone else has that.
Right. But then there's the straight up dooms where you can control BTs and
Which is
summon
what Higgs
entities
has.
from another plane of existence.
Right. And it's all based off the crazy things that happen to you. So let's head back to our story. In the cave, we are finally introduced to Sam Porter Bridges. He is a porter who works at bridges. We'll touch on that later. The key point of all of this is that you see Sam drop a photo. It actually is incredibly important that the photo hits the ground and one of the drops of timefall hits one part of the photo and fades the photo away. That's
His wife, a lady, we don't know who. She was obviously pregnant from the photo, but we never see her face.
Yes, in the photo is a younger Sam and a young woman whose face has now been blurred out because of the rain, and she's pregnant, possibly. And behind them is another woman in glasses who will play a role later. And this then leads into a conversation with Sam and Fragile that hints at the world a little bit, hints at what Dooms is, hints about a lot of things without really giving us any information.
We find out that Sam does not like to be touched. Do not touch him. He
Right.
does not like human contact.
And then she eats Cryptobite, the gummy worm-looking creatures that keep the timefall away. So we get some of the background information that we told you, and that Fragile has a company called Fragile, and then she just teleports away.
Puff.
Yeah, and my favorite thing is the first tip of this game, when you actually start playing again, is if your blood is low, you die. If your stamina is low, it'll be harder to maintain balance. So make sure to L2, R2, or you're gonna fall. Within moments of starting the game, I fell right on my ass.
Right, just every time. If you didn't know about those L2, R2, you just fall over.
Oh boy.
And sometimes you fall over when you're just walking normally.
As you deliver your packages, Bridges Corpse Disposal shows up, and they're like, hey, we need you to come with us because you are one of those dudes who can sense BTs. We got a dead body back here. Some dude killed himself.
Except they have a BB with them. They can figure out when those things are happening.
Yeah, apparently it doesn't matter. Like, we need you on this as well to set up the plot.
That's like saying we need Superman because we need someone who's flies. And you're like, yeah, but you're Green Lantern. What are you asking me for?
Even Superman had the Justice League, my friend.
I guess so, but again,
Hashtag Super Friends.
Why do you need Super Friends if you're Superman?
And so, yeah, this dude shot himself and he's going necro, and they're like, we gotta get him to the incinerator. So you ride in the back. Thankfully, you're with an old dude who's like, I remember the before times. And he gives you the backstory. He explains things to you. And he's like, look, we are in a world that's like the living and dead are mixed together. And that's why this dude probably killed himself, because it's hopeless. This sucks. Of course, the timefall starts coming. And you see that weird eclipse thing in the sky again. And they start driving through BTs. And because games are games, you stall out. And you're like, we gotta get out of here, man. The driver finally gets the car going, but you straight up flip.
Yep, yeah, the worst possible time.
Yeah, and of course, these two other guys are super dead. Timefall is coming down. One guy's trapped under a truck. He is aging rapidly, and his friend's grabbing him like, come on!
Again, a very horrific scene to see. Never happens again. Never again do you ever see anybody caught in the rain.
And so this dude's just like aging rapidly. His friend's trying to pull him out, and then the guys from Ghost show up. The dudes who pull bad people to hell.
That's right.
They show up and they like grab this guy and they start pulling him down. The dude pulls out his gun and just pops him in the head. And he's like, I'm sorry. Kills his friend. And then he sees that the BTs are coming. They leave these cool handprints in the ground.
Maybe that's that Guillermo del Toro influence on this, but the horror elements of this game are so good.
And so what ends up happening is this dude gets grabbed. A giant BT shows up. And the gravity starts getting all crazy. And this dude is just like, oh my God. He goes to shoot himself in the head. And he gets flipped upside down, loses his gun. He gives you the BB that he has. And he's like, get the hell out of here. And then he pulls out a knife and just stabs himself over and over and over, trying to kill himself before he like gets killed by these things. But all it does is when he gets up to the top, he just void outs and there's a massive explosion.
That scene, I forgot about him stabbing himself. That was so horrifically visceral.
There's a massive explosion and Sam wakes up on a beach. And he finds and he starts holding the unshelled BB, and it's connected to him with a sort of umbilical cord. It's symbolism for what's going on, really. But then BB vanishes. And as he stands looking around trying to figure out what's going on, you see all these oily handprints all over him. I'm going to reveal it now because it's important to get it out of the way now. All those handprints that you see whenever Sam takes a shower, anytime anything happens where that man is naked in this game, you see the handprints. And we learn over the course of the game that he has a phobia of people touching him.
Right.
Literally, every handprint is every time a BT has grabbed him and killed him.
Oh, that's great.
He's been killed.
That being said,
he can be killed and brought back, and so he has died before. And as he looks for BB through the oily hands and the scar on his stomach, you see in the background thousands of dead marine animals with weird tendrils coming out of all of them. And in the sky, that eclipse thing with the 5 floating deities, whatever they are. And then a woman in red starts singing London Bridge is Falling Down.
What is the deal with the games that we play, Jesse, that there's weird like nursery rhymes that connect people to other realms?
Cause nursery rhymes are creepy as shit. So she walks out into the tendrils and Sam tries to follow her, but is pulled underwater. And there are thousands of bodies and a giant creature moving above the surface. It looks super cool. And then we go inside of him and finger baby. The little...
Super cute, but why? Why was the baby inside of him? Or was the baby the conduit? See, that's why I thought the baby was the conduit.
Here's the thing. That literally, it gives away the game. That scene spoils the game.
Oh, for the revelation at the end of the game.
Yep, spoils it.
Wow.
Yep.
What an amazing breadcrumb to put so early on. Because you're right. The whole time you're watching it, you're like, why is this here?
Yeah. And so we get a cut of Mads Mikkelsen as Cliff, who is talking to BB, and he's like, hey, BB, you're inside that thing, and you're pretty great, and I love you.
I love the way, whenever you say BB in my mind, I just picture him going, BB. Like,
BB.
BB. I need my BB.
And then Norman wakes up, and he's holding his BB, and it's revealed that the explosion caused a giant ass crater.
Yeah, it's
Massive
huge crater.
And that is literally the prologue. That's straight up just the intro to the game. There are 14 chapters. I don't know that we can do them all justice. Like I said, I think we're gonna have to cut and paste our way through this story. But we need to touch on some key moments in the next chapter that establishes stuff.
Yeah.
Like for instance, waking up the next day, handcuffed to a bed with Guillermo del Toro, except it's not Guillermo del Toro.
That's a liar.
Call me Dead Man. I'm well acquainted with the dead.
And he is Dead Man, a former coroner who is a doctor, and he's like, hey, that's not really a handcuff. It's actually an in-game mechanic for reading your vitals and keeping you in the loop. And I'm like, boy, that's not foreshadowing or suspicious.
So stupid and amazing. I want those handcuffs, FYI.
It's
like,
so-
they're great, but they're awful.
So apparently the explosion took out a whole city. The one that you were just previously at.
Yeah, the one you just were hanging out at.
And it was one of the major bridges HQ. I think it was the HQ. So they've all relocated to Capital Knot City, and his BB is being decommissioned because it obviously didn't work. It didn't help you guys in any way.
It's a broken BB. Gotta get this BB
Yeah,
out of
gotta
here.
go Kill that BB.
Yeah, jeez.
So the way BBs work is mothers who are brain dead.
A steel mother's womb facilitates a connection between the world of the dead and the BB. And you, in turn, connect yourself to a BB, granting you the ability to sense BTs.
So of course they set the plot point that's like, yeah, hey, this BB probably is not going to make it to the end.
You have a defective BB. This BB will never make it.
Yeah, and Dead Man's like, trust me on this, you're going to want a new one. And you're like, no, man, I'm taking this BB.
Yeah.
This BB and I were connected.
Take it to the limit. Let's go, BB.
Take it to the limit. Let's go, baby.
His mission from Jump Street, they're like, yo, we need to take morphine to the president who's dying of cancer. It's a special request. And he's like, why don't you do it? And he's like, because I'm not here. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah, we find out everyone who's been communicating with us is all hologram technology.
Yeah.
No one is actually anywhere.
Except Fragile, who can teleport.
Right, of course she can.
And when you deliver the morphine, you discover that the president is your mom.
And she was the old lady in the picture.
And more importantly, you forgot.
Well, he doesn't like to talk about her much.
Right. And one of the craziest lines of the game is, the first and last female president. I was like, whoa.
How sad that America finally gets a female president, and that's the end of the history book.
I like how the dude didn't even consider it as possible for the future. He's like, the first and last
Yeah,
female
right.
president.
That's it.
I
That's
was
it.
like,
We tried
whoa.
it. We tried it. She ruined America. Never again.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And there's some great cinematography when you go into the mom's room, like the wires hanging from the ceiling connected to her bed look like the tendrils from the BTs.
Yep.
It's like, this is so cool. So you go meet the president.
Yeah, your
and
mom.
That's where you see Die Hardman.
Yeah.
Bridget, the president, is
Bridget, part of Bridges, but different.
right, is his mom. And apparently someone named Amelie was sent west to rebuild the country.
Bridget's daughter.
And she needs Sam to help find her. Sam can make America whole. That's his purpose. That's the story. If he can reconnect everyone, we can get the country back together. We can have a future. She's like, it's about you helping. And Sam's just like, America's dead. I don't care.
Not only that, you're dead to me. This is all a waste of time. I don't care about
And
anything.
she is on her deathbed. She is about to die in his arms. She grabs him, falls out of the bed, and black goo comes out of her. Which,
Yeah.
like, what was that about?
Well, later on, I think it's interesting. When it happened, I just thought it was like, oh, maybe because she's like dying and the beach is coming out of her. But later on, we
Yeah.
know what that is.
Yes,
We know what that is.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And so she grabs him, and he sees the photo of her and Sam and the pregnant woman, who we find out eventually is his wife, who was killed in a void out with their child. And then there's a flash of a younger her, ? And she says she loves him and will be waiting for him on the beach, and then dies. And then we have the reveal that the whole room is hologram tech. There's, doctors, everyone runs in the room, but at the end it's revealed, aside from Die Hardman and maybe one doctor, everyone else in that room was not even in the room.
Right.
Which, again, fascinating. I love stuff like that.
Are
where-
we worried at all about Bridget's populist politics and that the fact that she wants him to make America whole again and that she has to build the chiral network?
I'm not. They decide they need to keep her death a secret.
If people in America know the president's dead, everything's going to go to shit again.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a cover-up. We're going to get her daughter, Amelie, to take over as interim president. And so you go and you meet with her before that.
Right.
Before that even happens.
The storyline is...
The first mission of this game, dude, is you have to take your dead mom
Yeah.
on your back
Yeah.
to an incinerator to be burnt.
It's very heavy.
And as you do that, you throw her into this incinerator, you burn her, and as you're about to burn your BB, which I didn't even realize that's what, he reaches back and he's like, I guess I gotta throw this in too. I was like, is that the baby you just saw?
Yeah.
He's about to throw the baby in, and then the BTs show up.
A really great, scary scene. Again, visually stunning. I love the way it's shot. I love him cowering, the way it comes over.
Yeah.
Supernatural horror at its best.
So once you escape that, you go back, he hooks up the BB again, and he has another Mads Mikkelsen scene, and we're seeing something in the past, and it carries out throughout the entire thing. Once again, you're told, get rid of the BB. There's some sort of weird dooms feedback going on, and your memories are being distorted.
He's channeling the memories of the BB, and they don't know why.
Right, they're like, something's wrong here, but no time for all that. We'll take a look at it. Deadman's like, I'll take a look at it. Go see the president. And you're like, what? And when you get there, you find out that it is, in fact, the woman in red, the woman you've been seeing the entire time. And you're like, wait, who the hell is this? It is Amelie.
Yep.
And you learn that she is going to take on the persona of President of the United States. Maybe, I think they might announce it. I don't know. Because they say that what they're going to say is that she will become Samantha America Strand.
Again with the weird names and stuff like that.
The note I wrote down was, oh, I get it now. Everyone's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they leave one note, which is, it's like she hasn't aged in 10 years.
Right.
Which right away I'm like, what's going on? And they then begin to form a plan. And the plan is that she, while being in the room with them, is not actually in the room with them. She is in Edge Knot City, which is basically LA.
And she's being held prisoner there as well.
By the homo demons, yeah.
She can't get out of there.
And these are terrorists who apparently triggered void outs. And maybe is possible for the dude who shot himself earlier. Maybe he was one of them. He was trying to blow that city on purpose. Yeah. So they try to convince Sam that he needs to help them.
Who doesn't want to go? Sam continually tells them, I don't want to do this.
And so they're like, hey, we want you to help us unite the people of the world.
Not the world, just America.
You're right. And we need to convince them to join us. Because for some reason, and Amelie says this, that all these cities out there where just people are living for themselves, some people are convinced that having like a strong man be their leader is the only way to unite the country again. She's like, that's not right. It's going to put them in shackles. And Sam's like what you did to me, and then points to his
shows
wrist.
the wrist that he's literally in shackles.
And he's like, you're just like the demons. You're a crazy cult of wackos. And she's like,
they're not shackles, Sam. They're a symbol of our bonds.
Sure it is.
Sure it is. Yeah, tell me more. Yeah, when I
those handcuffs you wear, a symbol of your bonds.
Yeah. You know that I love my wife when I put her in her gimp outfit. That's how much I love her. I just want to be so close to her skin.
So Sam is tasked with heading west, and he's given a floating necklace of USB drives, and they're like, hey, connect everyone together, go to all these different cities, and when you get to Edge Knot, find Amelie, bring her home. And Sam's like, no, I don't want to do this.
I don't want to do any of this.
But Die Hardman's like, yo, sleep on it, dude. I bet something will happen overnight that'll change your mind. And Deadman shows up and is like, oh, hey, I fixed your BB, which is not 20 minutes ago. You're like, kill that thing.
Right, but
now he's like, it's fixed. I was like, what?
He jimmied around with it. He changed the water, gave it some more little fish food. It's fine.
Finally, maybe 3 or 4 hours into this game, we get a conversation that explains the beach and strands to us. Sam is Sam Strand, right? And in this, they explain that a strand is a rope or a bond. Stranding is, when something washes up on shore, and stranded means you can't go home. I was so happy that they had a conversation like this where I was like, thank you for explaining things to me, so now I understand what the hell this game, because Death Stranding as a title, I was like, what does that mean? That is so insane. And so...
But it still took 5 hours for anyone to tell you that.
And so the strand is all the connections everyone has, right? And then the stranding is that, when you get to that beach. But Amelie, she is stranded. She can't get home.
Right.
And so during this cutscene that you have with her on the beach, you're having this conversation, her dress switches between gray and red. Like there's like quick flash.
Yep.
And I was like, what the hell? And then she walks into an explosion or a star or something. And then Sam wakes up.
Right.
Sam wakes up, and that is the end of this chapter. That's how the chapter ends, with this weird revelation that something's wrong with Amelie. There's something weird going on there. There is something weird going on with Sam. And then the first mission is like, hey, here's some shit, go build a mailbox. I was like, what? So the basic plot, of course, is going to Edge Knot City to get Amelie, bring her home, but along the way, traveling and connecting cities and building new post boxes and building infrastructure along the way. That's the basic plot of the game. That's what happens. And then you learn about all the characters as you go through it.
And Sam is a character who starts off the game not wanting to do any of this, through his interactions with all these people, becomes a little bit warmer to the world.
Absolutely.
And you as the player, even though this is a daunting and not fun task, you get a weird dopamine rush every time you're like, got another one on the network.
Yeah.
It's like a little checklist, and you don't want to do it at first, but begrudgingly, just like Sam Porter Bridges, you do it.
So let's start with some of the characters we met.
Okay.
All right, so we'll save Sam for the end because I think he's probably best connected with Cliff. We should probably start with Die Hardman because I'm sure everyone's wondering what the hell that mask is about.
You see him wearing that mask, and I was like, oh, this is like a Phantom of the Opera situation. When we look under that mask, we're going to find out. Timefall, something happened to him. No, spoilers, he takes it off. He was just hiding from people.
Yeah, and his original name, I shit you not, was John McClane, hence Die Hardman. He was in the Special Forces with Mads Mikkelsen's character, but due to an incident that we'll talk about, he had to go into hiding, and Bridget helped him pretend to be dead. So he took this identity. Deadman is a dude who, he says, oh, I was a coroner, now I'm a doctor. You never really see him.
I straight up remember him saying that he was built from remaining parts of humans.
He absolutely is. He is 100% actually just pieces of other people.
He is Frankenstein, the
He's
scientist,
Deadman.
and the monster.
Yeah. Other characters you meet along the way are Hartman.
Right.
And Hartman is fascinating because his name comes from the fact that he managed to survive the two void outs that left a heart-shaped crater. It killed his wife and daughter, but it left like a heart-shaped crater, hence Hartman. And he is obsessed with finding his wife and daughter on the beach.
So on cue, every 20 minutes, the device on his chest kills him, and for 2 minutes, he goes to the other side and explores other people's beaches looking for his wife and daughter.
He is this obsessive character that is one of those people that is bridging the gap. And that's a lot of this game, is people being obsessed with death and trying to figure out a way to overcome it in some way, but it's ever present. Then there's Mama.
Oh boy.
So Mama is one of the two people, she and her sister, helped make the chiral network.
Right, they are two halves of the same coin, if you will. A yin and a yang.
And she's called Mama because her sister, Lockney, I think was her name.
Uh-huh.
She couldn't have a baby, or at least carry a baby, and Mama couldn't produce eggs. And so when her sister fell in love with this dude who eventually dies, Mama agrees to take this dude's sperm and with her sister's egg, carry the baby to term.
But during the time of carrying the baby, this Death Stranding happens.
Right.
She gets trapped in the hospital debris for 3 days.
And the baby dies.
But stays with her
It's
and is
connected.
And is the only reason why she is found is because of the spirit baby that is attached to her.
Right. And so she is tethered to this baby, but also she survived by drinking timefall water.
Which is very confusing, and I don't understand how that's possible, but it sustains her.
She is now trapped not only with the baby, but stuck at the hospital. She cannot leave.
Because if she leaves, she'll die, because her insides are like a 90-year-old woman at this point.
She is trapped in the hospital. She looks very, very young, but yeah, she is a mess. And then the major villain of this entire game is Higgs.
Yeah.
He's the gold mask dude. He's the leader of the Homo Demons. He was raised by his uncle, I think, and he grew up pretty messed up. Apparently, he was told the shelter he lived in was all there was to the world. And eventually he just kills his uncle, escapes into the real world, and takes a job as a porter, gaining his incredible Doom's powers in the process.
He never liked his face. He doesn't like the way he looks.
Right, and he eventually delves deep into ancient mythology, which becomes his character almost. He has a mask that he wears that is basically a gold Egyptian death mask, really is what it's trying to be. And he eventually joins up with Fragile, and he's like, we can change this world. We can do all sorts of amazing things. We can do what the UCA wants to do. But in the process, he discovers Amelie. He becomes infatuated with her and wants to work with her and complete her goals, but decides she's moving way too slowly and founds the homo demons to move things along because he still knows that Amelie is the key.
Yes, before anyone else does, he puts the pieces and decides that instead of partnering with Fragile, he will use her and
Yes.
then discard her.
And so we can talk about Fragile.
Yeah.
Because Fragile, she is this character who was, just trying to make her way in the world, trying to do her thing. But definitely there's some hostility between her and Bridges. And because the UCA is down with Bridges, she's like, I'm going to unite the world my way, or unite the United States my way.
And it's interesting, sort of the, where do you get your news from? People that are into Fragile Express, they don't trust the UCA.
Yeah.
And in fact, Sam, for a large portion of the game, has to prove he's with Fragile for people to even open the door to him.
And so what ends up happening is when she partners with Higgs, he's straight up a terrorist. Like he's a terrorist, and it backfires on her. Because what he does is he uses her to blow up cities.
Yep, using her Fragile Express to smuggle nuclear bombs to create basically, man-made void outs, basically.
Yeah, when he blows it up and all those people die, void out.
Right.
And so he gives her an option when she finds out that he's using her. He's like, you can save these people, but you gotta go through the rain to do it.
Strips her down to her skeevies. Also, it's a Kojima game. Those were just regular underwear. Thank you, Kojima, for just having her have her normal Monday underwear on. Yeah. She gets held a package and is told you have two options. You can either save yourself or save people. And she chooses to save people, but it's now inflicted her entire body.
Her whole body, hence the Fragile, is old. Except for her face.
Yeah. Well, that was protected by the one little thing she had on. Yeah.
But her whole body is old, and that's why she's fragile. But because of everything that happened to her, she is now, I can teleport, I can do all these crazy things. Then, of course, there is Cliff. Army Special Forces.
The #1 Special Forces.
He is an Iraq vet, an Afghanistan vet. He and his wife, Lisa Bridges, of the Bridges Corporation, had a son.
A baby.
And after an accident with his wife, she's labeled brain dead. Very interesting.
But they were able to save his baby, quote unquote, and his baby is the very first BB experiment.
Yep. And so all that footage that you see whenever you connect to the BB unit is of the very first BB and of Cliff's son. He bonds with his son in a jar. And what happens is Bridget Strand is like, hey, what if you take it to Bridges and we not only save your child, but I don't know, do some experiments on this baby because it's outside the body. The mom's still around. This brain dead woman is still there. What if we mess around with this? And what ends up happening is Cliff is like, what have I done? I can't believe
what have I done?
I can't believe I gave them my son.
I can't believe I gave him my baby.
My baby. And he basically infiltrates Bridges and goes to get his son back. And in doing so, he pulls his son from the jar, essentially. And Bridget's like, kill this dude.
Yep, he's gotta die.
And no one will. So she grabs Die Harmon's gun and pulls the trigger for him. The scar, it turns out, on BB is the exact same scar that Sam Porter Bridges has.
Bum, bum, bum!
Sam shot. And when this all goes down, this is the act that causes the Death Stranding.
Right. We then find out that what we thought was a supernatural event was not.
Man was caused by this.
Man was playing God, and we were the ones experimenting with the other side, and we were the one that bursted open the portal.
And at that moment in time, when it burst open, it kills Cliff, and Cliff, just like Hartman, is obsessed with finding BB. And that's why his beach are all these war zones throughout history as he's struggling with his past to also find the one thing he truly cares about, his child. Amelie, on the other hand, oh boy, this is gonna be, all right. This next part is possibly gonna be confusing, so I'm gonna try to break it down. Bridget and Amelie split into two beings, with Amelie as the Ka to Bridget's Ha. This is some really funky ancient Egyptian mythology. Basically, the Ha is the body, the Ka is the soul. In Egyptian mythology, when you die, your Ka leaves your body and heads into the West. Like we were talking about before with Lord of the Rings and fantasy, right? The West always represents the land of the dead. But when the Death Stranding happened, even though she's alive, the Ka separated from Bridget.
Who is the human manifestation of her. But the other thing that we find out about Amelie...
Well, don't get there yet.
Okay.
But this explains that when you finally get to her, there's no Amelie.
There was never an Amelie.
There was never an Amelie. When you finally get to Edge Knot City, Amelie isn't real. It's a thing that Higgs has understood the entire time. Amelie's not a physical being. Amelie is this entity, this thing that is what Bridget was, who is not a good person.
Not a good person, and also speaks to the fact that this whole venture of bringing people together was founded on lies.
It's all lies, because as Higgs knew the entire time, Amelie is an extinction entity.
She is an EE, and we find out that there has been multiple EEs through time that when they show up, they void out, to use that term, all of existence.
And the idea is set up in the very beginning of the game. The first couple lines of the game are like,
once there was an explosion, a bang which gave rise to life as we know it. And then came the next explosion.
And there have been 5 mass extinctions, and we are on the cusp of another. And the whole idea is that from time to time, it just happens. We die. Like, everything voids out. And we are living through another one of those right now. And there are things that we discover when we learn about extinction entities. There are things, their whole purpose is to just wipe out everyone.
Yep.
And all of them are connected to that greater, death realm. I'm not sure what you would call it.
The beach! I mean, there's
they're
no
all
other...
connected to the beach.
It's connected to the beach!
And each EE is predestined to end life. They know it.
Yep.
They dream about it. It is their existence. But even though they can't fight it, they may be able to delay it.
Right.
And it appears that in the previous iterations, the previous 5, they may even have altered it in a way that allowed, once they died, their life to flourish and help the Earth grow again. And Amelie is one of those. She, has experienced dreams her entire life, premonitions since infancy that continued into her adulthood, and it finalized when her soul split from her body. And so she's existing independently on a beach, and she is stranded. And her whole thing is like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
I have to do this. If I can get out of here, I'll void out. I won't have to suffer anymore. And all those people over there, they're doing terrible.
Everyone on Earth is having the worst day possible. They live in weird little huts. They can't play in the rain anymore. It's awful.
She's like, if I can do what the others did and wipe everything out, maybe we can start over. And you're just like, what?
Right.
The reason she is so angry and is like, F it, kill everyone, is because she is unconnected. She's disconnected from everyone. And Sam, who was like her, connects with people over his journey, and he realizes it's worth fighting for when she has been trapped by herself and does not have that. I think that's even why she picks him at the beginning to do this mission, is because she thinks in the end he'll agree with her. And so at the end, when you're given the choice to kill her, shoot her, or like come in for a hug.
Come in for a hug, Sam. Time to hug that mama.
The moral of the game is that, and it's, again, a very high concept Kojima thing, which is like, look, I've been telling you the entire game, I'm trying to unite people. I'm trying to bring people together. When you play, you're uniting with people online. You're building a better world online for this game. And this character, Amelie, is so warped by the fact that she's been alone for, years and years and years. She doesn't understand the things that are worth fighting for. And I feel like this is a very Kojima shot on the internet as a whole, and being like, all you people who are like, in your home by yourself, talking shit on the internet, treating people like crap. Go out and meet someone and you won't be as much of a sorry piece of shit. Like, that's really what he's saying.
Absolutely. He is absolutely talking about that this bubble that we keep ourselves in will not bring us closer to human interaction.
I think that's the concept of the beach, and that it is supposed to be your happy place, the place where you are at your most peaceful, right? But it's also lonely. And over time, you see that it becomes corrupted. You see from your dad's perspective of raising you and taking care of you and being like, I love you, son. And then you see that after he's killed by this woman, she then raises you. And you have this weird relationship with her, but you're hit with flashbacks or, beach dreams of all the good times, of the dream catcher, of all the different things in your life. And I think that's supposed to be clues for the end, which is like, even some shitty people who've done some shitty things, like, they're worth saving. Deep down inside, you have to believe there's something good in everyone. Even like the worst people, you have to believe there's something there. And I think that's kind of the message. But I don't know, it could also be Kojima nonsense.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about, like, there's so many parts of this game that are the same gameplay over and over again. But once you get to the end of the game, all of a sudden, the stuff with the fight with Higgs, there's 3 different phases, and then turns into a fighting video game, Jesse.
He literally becomes like a Final Fantasy boss.
It's
wild.
crazy. But
wild.
then you go and you fight him on the beach, and you're just like, I don't need no guns anymore. Come after me. And then it turns into just like a knuckle brawler where you're using every part of your being. And even then, Sam hands it off to Fragile and goes, you know what? You make this decision. Yeah. Because he can't even decide what to do with him.
Well, because Sam, you realize, is, I think, supposed to represent all the people on the internet. I think that are just like, look, I can talk a mean game, I can be a piece of shit, but in real life, like, that's not who I am. I'm not gonna hurt these people. I'll fight him because it's the right thing to do, but when it comes to making the choice at the end, it was never my choice to begin with. Like, this guy, he's done some terrible things, but he did it to you, not me.
So Higgs is sort of like the 8chan troll who actually manifests violence into real life.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Posts his manifesto online, and people, you have to go and look for it, and it's super dark and negative. But he is that person that is actually living out the things that the internet says they want to do.
Yes.
Sam says he wants to do these things, but in Sam's heart of hearts, he's not going to do any of those things.
That's exactly what it is.
He's a little baby living inside of a jar who just wants his mommy and daddy back.
Yeah, Sam has been through some stuff, but it's the idea that as he explores the world and as he meets people, he realizes, like, there's more than just my bitterness and anger. While Higgs does not have that. Higgs has retreated because he put himself out there and life punched him and knocked him down. You just get up. Like, that's it. You just get up and you keep going, and it'll keep knocking your ass down and just keep going. And Higgs is that dude who got punched once and he was like, yeah, I'm over it.
Right.
And the idea is that I think Sam is the dude who's like, he's had it way worse than you, Higgs. Piss off, and he's still trying. And I think the idea at the end is there might be hope for the future, but for us, like, we got shit to build. We have to reconnect the world. There might not be time for any love here.
It's like redoing a farm or something like that, right? Like, the actions we do will not pay off in our lifetime, but in the next lifetime.
Sure.
Which also speaks to that online component of everything you do to make another person's game better makes that game better.
Right.
Playing this game today is probably much better than the people that played this on launch day.
Absolutely. I would say if you want to experience this game, try it now, because all the videos you watched, everyone who was struggling to climb over a mountain, everyone who was falling in a river, all that stuff, now there are ladders over rivers, there are paths that people have made, there are actual legit roads.
Yeah.
There are all these different things, and again, zip lines everywhere.
Zip lines are amazing.
They make it so fast. You can get from one place to another place in like 2 minutes.
Amazing.
It's wild. And it changes everything about the way the game plays, and you realize that it's a genius concept that to get to that moment, you had to struggle and fight and BS your way through climbing mountains and all sorts of shit you didn't want to do, which is, again, very societal and very, like, civilization from the ground up.
Yeah.
It's super high concept. I don't know that it makes for a great game mechanic.
It does not, FYI.
But once you see what it's created, you're like, I get what he was trying to do. I see it as clear as day. It's just insane, but I see it and it makes sense. And I'm like, damn, that's brilliant. But again, I don't know that it makes for great gaming. All right. have we covered everything? Is there anything else we need to cover for this?
Boss fights are a joke. It sucks when you fall down and you lose all your packages. Dying is awful. Ziplining is amazing. The fight with Higgs is next level amazing. All the parts of it. The part when you have to get pulled under by the BTs to then cross the ocean.
Yeah.
There's so many great things in this game, but on top of it is just a bunch of muck of working a day job.
That's life, man.
Yeah, man, that's life.
I feel like that's how this game should have ended. Just that song.
I love my baby.
The BB is one of the best parts of the game.
I love my baby.
Guys, this Death Stranding is the best video game you will never play.
It truly is amazing. It's a phenomenal story, phenomenal, like the way they tell the story.
100%.
But at the same time, you're still like liking people's works.
Right, it's a dystopian future where nothing matters anymore, but hopefully my Facebook profile goes up a couple of notches.
It's fascinating, and at the same time, I've never not wanted to play a game more.
It sucks to work your normal day job, go home and go, I'm gonna unwind with some video games, only to fucking punch in as a UPS worker in a dystopian future.
It is bizarre. I've never experienced anything like this. There will never be a game like this ever again.
Absolutely not.
But it also is one of those beautiful things you'll ever see. It's fascinating. It is at times terrifying.
Yeah.
It also is so imaginative, and I don't know how to convince you to play it. I love this game, but I cannot recommend it to anybody.
It's an amazing game. There's so much amazing work into it, and I cannot in good conscience tell you
I can't tell you to play this game.
Nope.
Don't play it. Watch someone else play it.
Have fun. Go find a way to consume this story. An amazing story.
It'll change. The story is like almost life-changing.
Almost absolutely.
It'll blow your mind, and you'll be like, I see through the Matrix code of reality now.
But you're not going to play it.
Yeah, no, you have to get through like 25 hours of hiking over the Rockies.
Don't play it.
But for real, you'll love this game actually.
It's amazing.
But you will hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that too. When I'm back on top in June.
You know, where's the payoff? Bring the strippers and booze. We do occasionally talk about video games. Bring the strippers and booze. Not enough time for video games. Bring the strippers and booze.
Oh, thank God, I don't need pants now.
Hey, JC, what are you doing? Not much. Making a fortune.
It's a production of broadcast.
Yeah, now sing music.
It's a production of broadcast.
Bring the strippers and booze.
It's a production of broadcast.
I'm here to ask and answer one simple question.
It's a production of broadcast.
You